Welcome back to Midday. We are talking about proportional representation. We are joined by Gisela Ruckert, the team leader for Fair Vote Kamloops, and we also have Tom Rankin joining us as well. Thank you both for being here.
Oh, thanks for the opportunity.
This is a topic I think that everybody is sort of discussing now that those ballots have been sent out for the referendum. And it's not an easy one to understand. That's why we really wanted to have you guys here, was to sort of just give a little bit of insight as to what proportional representation is and sort of how it differs from first past the post in our current system. So Gisela, I'll just ask you maybe first of all, how would you explain to somebody who didn't know what proportional representation is?
So the basic concept behind proportional representation is that a party's share of the vote, that is their popular support, translates accurately into the number of seats that they earn.
Right.
So if a party wins 40% of the vote, they would get about 40% of the seats, which sounds logical to most people, but that's actually not what happens in our current system.
Right.
The normal situation, both provincially and federally, is for one party to win about 40% of the vote, but the system sort of transforms that number into a majority of seats.
Okay.
So they would end up with a majority government that actually has the support of less than half the people. And that's the biggest problem that proportional representation addresses. Because if a party wins that amount of support, that, 40% would give them 40% of the seats, which means they'd have to find some common ground with other parties in order to produce a legislation that's actually supported by a true majority of the citizens.
Right. So Tom, would you say that this is just, I mean, your organization is Fair Vote, but is this the fairest way? The current system we have now, would you say that that's not really benefiting BC voters?
It's not benefiting BC voters. We are one of very few countries left on the planet that are still using first past the post. Canada, the United States, and England are the only ones left on it.
Wow.
And the inevitable evolution is what we see in the United States, where there's only two parties to vote for and nobody else matters.
Right. So this would really impact the voter then, if we were to move to this.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference that voters would notice is that they would have an MLA who is locally elected and locally accountable, who they helped elect, who their vote went to support. So right now, about 50% of us get an MLA that we support.
Okay.
Whereas under a proportional system, that number is up to 95% because you don't have just one MLA representing an entire diverse riding.
Right.
The ridings are structured differently so that there's more than one MLA representing more than one point of view because we don't all vote the same way.
Right, exactly. How would it impact Kamloops? Because, we have centers like Metro Vancouver, but smaller communities like us and like even smaller than this, more rural. How does that impact us?
So I think the thing that we should remember is that this whole process came after a big pre-referendum consultation period. So one of the top values that came out of that process is that people want local representation. We don't want to have someone from Vancouver representing us, and neither do the people in Prince George or Terrace or wherever. So all three systems on the ballot maintain local representation. And actually, it improves local representation because, as I said, we'd have an MLA from a party that we support who we can turn to. So, in terms of the way that it would work in Kamloops, it depends on the type of system that we choose because there are three options on the ballot, which only come into play if we get more than 50% on the first question, which is, do we want to stick with our current system or shift to a proportional one?
And if you answer no to that, you don't move on from there on the ballot, right?
You can answer either one or both.
Okay.
They're totally optional, either one. So you can say, yes or no on the first question, and regardless of which way you vote there, you still have the opportunity to rank your choices in the second half. But your ballot is also valid if you don't choose to go there, if you just answer the first question.
Okay.
I think what's interesting about it, we took the numbers from 2017 and looked at them as if it had been proportional. And when you look at that map of British Columbia, we look like a Scottish tartan. We are quite a mosaic.
Yeah, so you said you had some of the slides here,
Yeah,
right?
we do.
There.
Let's put them up.
Actually, this is the
again,
one.
I'm not sure what order they're in,
This is the
Gisela,
one that Tom was just referring to.
Okay.
The map on the left shows how British Columbians voted if you color in the ridings according to the percentage of support for each party. And the map on the right shows what we get. So we can see that we're a very diverse province, but the voting system makes it look like we're very divided across regions.
That it's one or it's the other.
This urban-rural divide concept. But you can see it's a product of the voting system because each of the major parties has significant support in each region of the province.
And this speaks to the concern that the Lower Mainland's going to run the province. How can they run the province if they can't agree on their politics?
Yeah.
This brings us greater diversity across the whole
Plus,
province.
The actual legislation guarantees that no region will lose MLAs. So we're guaranteed that our region will have no fewer MLAs than now.
Okay, that's good to know. This is very good information. Okay, we'll keep going here because we do have a few that I want to get through.
Yeah, so this is the one that talks about the representation. So top line is first past the post. One local MLA, and this shows you what happens under each of the systems. So you can see that we have different MLAs of different colors, but there's a really handy tool if people want to kind of do a quiz to see which of the systems best aligns with their values. They can go to a thing called referendumguide.ca, so referendumguide.ca, and it'll run you through a survey that helps you align your values with one of the systems here on offer.
That's interesting. We have another one here. I love these ones. These really show you
So this is the main problem, right? Half of our votes don't elect someone. That's in a nutshell the problem.
Okay.
And this is why we say it's a non-partisan issue, because when you look at the ones that didn't elect anyone, they're pretty evenly split across the three major parties, and a lot of people don't realize that.
So it's a voter fairness issue.
Yeah. And that brought me back to, brings me back to what we talked about right at the beginning of this segment. How does it impact the voter? Well, you're saying that it's actually more fair.
Oh, absolutely. And this is just a really quick illustration of what things might look like in our region. So right now, about 50% of the voters supported one party, but we got all of the seats in our area from the one party. Under a proportional system, that half of the pie that's not represented would also have some MLAs representing them.
So, Gisela, can I ask you about the referendum quickly? We have about a minute left here. And when is the deadline? How is this all working?
So people may have received their ballots already, and everyone should have received the voter's guide in the mail before that. Both of those are from Elections BC. And you have until November 30th to get your ballot in.
Okay.
But I mean, do it now. Don't wait for it to fall into the recycling bin, or just mail it if you know what you want. If you don't know what you want, then go to the resources that are available. There's that ProRepFactCheck.ca that helps us.
Yeah, we have that slide. Let's throw that up if we can, just while we're chatting.
There we go. Check the things that you're hearing. This is a couple of academics who are scrutinizing the claims being made by either side, telling us whether they're accurate or not. But anyways, what I would encourage people to do is, if you know what you want, send it in now. If you don't, use some of the resources that are available. The fairvote.ca website is another great source of information. And Elections BC is as neutral information as you can get. So just take the time, call us at Fairvote Kamloops. We're available through Facebook, or you can email us at fairvotekamloops@gmail.com. And we'd love to answer any questions that people have.
Perfect. Well, I think you will be getting lots of
individually or group sessions. If someone has a group they'd like to have us to come out, happy to do that.
We have those information sessions available. That's great. Well, thank you both for being here. Really appreciate that and providing a little bit more insight into proportional representation. I know we've seen everybody out on this morning on the side of the roads there holding up the signs. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure this won't be the last time that we talk to you, so appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
We're back in a couple of minutes. Stay with us.